This video is going to show you how to make some affordable and easy DIY floating figure stands, as well as spiritual weapon spell effects. Now, this is not a painting techniques video, so quit judging me and just go, wow man, those things float! Now I'm going to be using some Warhammer miniature weapons because I had those and that's what I wanted to use, but you could absolutely easily do the same things in this video with a small little plastic martini sword for olives. But I want to use these and my secret weapon, a plastic fork. The plastic fork will be what your little miniatures stand on, but we'll get to that in a minute. First off, let's start with the weapons. I'm trying to use a diverse set, so we're going to use a sword as well as a giant mace and then a dagger. And we're going to take another thing, which is an axe head, and we're going to do something here called kit bashing, which is where we take stuff from a miniature set like this and use it in areas that it's not supposed to be used in. You can see this giant spear thing here is nice, but it's got hands and arms all over it, so I cut off the sword and dagger end from it before. We're also going to cut off an extra axe head that I have here and use that to create, you guessed it, an extra axe. We're going to use this axe head in concert with the staff from the spear here. Since you're cutting the staff up, if you want to make an extra sword and dagger one, you might as well go ahead and do it. I had to do two staffs so that I could have a mace and an axe head here to go with my sword and dagger. Now we're going to paint some things, and I'm using Stormhost Silver as well as Retributor Armor. If you want to really highlight it well, you can use Liberator Gold and Auric Armor Gold like you're supposed to. I'm just not gonna. I'm going to use black as my base coat and follow up with Reikland Flesh Shade for the kind of rusty bits. Glue your minis together how you normally do. I use Tester's glue, and then go ahead and start putting your base coat on. The glue doesn't take long to dry, so I go ahead and start painting the sword black while the mace and the axe are taking their sweet time to dry. It doesn't take long, just go ahead and coat the whole thing in black. Make sure you don't miss any spots where your fingers were holding it, because I don't have a great way to hold these things. And then I go ahead and paint the dagger black as well. When all is said and done, you'll have some really matte black painted minis like this, which is good. We really don't want anything to not be black, because if there is anything that shows that we missed the paint on, it will just look like a shadow. I go ahead and paint parts that I'd like to gold. There is a lot that I try and be extremely careful with here, and you can see that eventually I just give up and go fast, not because the video's sped up, but you can see all the extra parts here. That's one layer. You want to make sure that you coat everything in 2 layers of your base at the very least, because if you don't, it's not going to look good. Fast forward after 2 coats of the silver and the gold, and this is what it looks like on the mace as well as the axe. The sword here looks really good. I really like the lightning bolt that comes off of it, and then the dagger's pretty cool. If I was a halfling cleric, I may want a dagger spiritual weapon. Now I coat the whole thing in the Reikland Flesh Shade to give it that kind of ancient weapon and artifact look, because it looks rusty and not just like this super silver gold thing. If you like that aesthetic, keep it. There's a lot of Greek mythology that looks that way. Now let's get on to the floating part, which is really a 3-part base. It just takes these bases. They're the same bases that we used on the reusing the Lord of the Rings miniatures that we did before that give it that really clear look. It's just acrylic 1-inch diameter discs and a freaking see-through fork. You can get a box of these of like 50 of them for $1, and we don't care so much about the fork so much as we care about the really see-through prongs. These things are super durable, and we care about the middle ones because they stand straight up. You can see here the idea is we're going to glue these down to the center and then just glue whatever we want to float onto these now clear spires so that it looks like they're floating on their own. I'd like to say the idea for this fork thing came to me in a dream, but it came to me while I was eating takeout, and I saw, hey, I'm using a clear plastic fork. I could use these on a minis, because I didn't have any idea how I was going to do it otherwise. I use E6000 glue because it's super transparent, and I got that idea from the DM's craft. He's great, go check him out. I put a big old glob down, dip the back of the fork, or the bottom part of the fork prong onto it, and then just set it straight down onto the very center of one of these platforms. If you can get it to stand straight up and balance, good for you. I can't do that. I eventually have to set it on something to make sure that it stays straight up. But look how clear that is with the glue. Both the fork, the acrylic little stand, and the glue are super duper transparent. Any terrain that you have below it will stand out perfectly. This is just a different view of me gluing it down. You can see the fork prongs have a little bit of a curve to them, which is honestly great. It gives you a little bit more flexibility and customization in gluing them down, and it makes it a little bit more stable. You can see our completed and dried miniatures are here, which is what we're going to glue onto it. Again, use whatever you want, but this is where you kind of get to be creative in where you're gluing them. You can have them be extremely tall. If there's a hole in your mini, like this one, you can sit it so that it looks more sideways and action shotty. Now I'm using super glue here, but I don't recommend using it on the base because it'll make it all cloudy and it'll ruin that transparency. At the top, I think it's worth using a little and losing a little transparency on the stick because that bond you'll get from super glue is just so much better than you'll get from other glues. So I just put a tiny little dab on the part where I want it to connect. I do the professional thing where I put my hand in front of the camera each time I'm trying to glue it down and show you, but it's not really a big deal. All you do is glue it, lay it on there, and put them in a place where they can rest. I have it setting on a damp towel currently so that those don't roll around while they're sitting there, and then I wait the full hour or so for the super glue to really set and dry. Now I don't show it here because it wasn't part of my project, but if you wanted to create a base for a figure to stand on top of as if they were casting the fly spell, all you do is glue a second base on top instead of using a weapon like this. On the back of these, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take my little clippers here and clip off the tops of them so that there isn't anything extra showing. It really is just the weapons from the base of the weapons upwards. I do that on 3 of them, the sword, the axe, and the mace. It wasn't really necessary for the dagger, and bam, I'm done. I am super happy with these things. I themed them around a forge cleric, and forge cleric they look. I'm very happy with the gold and the silver. They look like they're gonna rip Xanathar's head off, and I can use them both as a spiritual weapon marker and a spirit guardian's indicator. One can be your weapon, and the other 3 can be your radius of the spiritual guardians. When you divide it out, each base and floating stand like this costs maybe 20 cents, and they just look awesome. And the weapons were things I just had lying around, and bam, they look so cool against a Nazgul like that, because, you know, they wouldn't fight that in Lord of the Rings. That's a D&D thing. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this and small little tips and tricks and spell effects. Tell me what you might like to see in the comments below, and tweet me if you make anything that I showed you how to make. Thank you for watching, and I really hope you have a great day.